All right, Todd with Jeep Speed Shop. So we're going to do a recap on this oil problem with this 3.6 liter using the Mishimoto oil cooler filter adapter. It did come with this oil pressure sending unit, which failed, and I think it failed within 2,000 miles now we're calculating. And as you can see, there's oil in it, right? So oil, it goes here on the back of this oil cooler, and this thing, I mean, not this thing, but the oil pump inside this 3.6 can reach 100 PSI when cold. So this thing's pumping a lot of oil, and oil obviously is going to the oil sender, which is telling the engine the oil pressure and so on. Well, if this thing's failing, right, pumping oil inside of this plug, which then goes into this, which is plugged in here, right? And it's all sealed. So you can see there's like a gasket and a sealer in there, right? So then it's all sealed. So then if this thing's pumping inside, pumps oil through the wiring, right? And all these connectors are sealed, so it's pumping through the wiring. So the wiring is like a conduit, right? So oil now is going through the wiring and going through the whole thing. And as you can see, the wire plug it's wide open, right? So it can go into each one of these, you know, I guess wires inside the plug, right? So it's got, you know, how many wires that are here? Like 10, right? 10 going through here. Well, then they were going into the injector plugs. So now all these injectors had oil. And then even on this side, all of the injectors, which are, oh yeah. So all the injectors got oil in them. So now we're pumping oil through all these injectors, and to here you can kind of see it's shiny. So oil's just running through the wiring, and as you can see into this connector, it's full of oil. So it's just running through the wiring and coming out each end. So it's coming out all of the connectors. So now all the wiring is full of oil. So after this, we get this Jeep all running, and then now we're having codes with crank sensor, the throttle position switch, and then we're having oil pressure sending unit codes, and we're like, oh man. I think what happens is once you take this apart, right, because we had to do the oil filter and cooler, so you had to take this plug apart. Well, then now oil is all over the connectors, right? You don't know. You take it apart and you go, okay, well, we'll take something. We took some electrical cleaner, kind of cleaned it up to see if that would help. And it didn't seem to help, because oil just kept coming through the wiring. Even though we fixed the problem by putting a new oil cooler and a new sending unit and reusing the wiring, well, the problem didn't stop. Oil kept seeping through the connectors, making bad connections. And then this Jeep stalled and died and didn't run good, and it was boggy on power. And so we had to buy a harness. We had to buy all of this. There's 3 harnesses here. Main harness, which the power connectors are in, the sub harness for the injectors for one side, then this sub harness that goes to the oil cooler. All 3 of these we had to buy. Take the Jeep all back apart again and put all this wiring back in, get it all put back together, go drive it, and then I get a code again. Oil sender number next. This was brand new from Chrysler, but it must have got shorted out or something happened to it when, you know, we put all this harness back together. So then we had to go buy another oil sender. Now, oil senders aren't normal to be going out. We don't see that ever, but I just don't think electrical connections like oil. So that's what I think created all this, and whew, what a snowball. And all we were doing was putting an 8-speed in this Jeep. And now with an 8-speed, running on all 6 really good. This is a good Jeep. This thing really runs good. It's awesome. Got all these bugs worked out. But man, what an uphill battle, and did not expect this to happen. So, whew, man, whole lot of words there. So FYI, be careful of this aftermarket stuff. And I just don't feel like any of this aftermarket stuff, the quality's there. We're seeing it all the time, and there's just another example of poor quality, because this only had like 2,000 miles on this cooler. That's it. And this sensor. And look at all the torment it created. So, but got it fixed, got it running, factory parts, been driving it around, it's running good. So, whew, just a recap on this oil wiring harness debacle. So, all right, that was a mouthful, and I'm glad this is done. So, all right, Jeep Speed Shop out.